let's go ahead and get to today's guest. She is my friend Leslie Gold. She is an amazing person, by the way. We actually met her. If you did not, my wife and I have a nonprofit called Run for Grace, where we help those in need through running. And we heard about her organization, Strides in Recovery, and we decided to do a fundraiser for them last year. And so we got to know Leslie a little more through that. And it is Strides in Recovery is basically an organization that they go into recovery homes for those people that are battling addiction recovery, or they are going through recovery of addiction. And they put running groups in these recovery homes throughout Los Angeles. And it's just another tool for those members to get over their recovery or to get past their recovery. It helps them with that. And if you may know, as a runner myself, I am an addict, a past addict, so it's definitely helped me in my journey. So it really resonated with us when we met Leslie. But yeah, so she is the founder of Strides in Recovery. You can look them up either on Instagram or you can go to the description below and go to their website if you want any more information on them. But she's also a very fast runner. I mean, I've known her for a couple years now, and I haven't really had much of a chance to talk to her about her running journey much. And I found out the other day that she's done Boston and she's qualified for it a few times and she ran it once. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Leslie, would you like to be a guest on my show? And she thankfully she accepted. So today we're going to dive into her journey. We're going to talk about her running journey, Strides of Recovery, and then we're going to cover her journey to getting to the Boston Marathon to help not only me, but you in your journey. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest today, Leslie Gold. Hey, Leslie. How are you? Oh, unmute your mic there. There you go. How are you today?
Great. I am doing well, and thanks for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome. So thank you for being the first guest on my YouTube show for this. You're, like you said earlier, my guinea pig. But that's okay. You're going to do fantastic. So without further ado, tell those who don't know who you are, who's Leslie Gold? Before getting to your running journey, who's Leslie Gold?
I've been a runner ever since I was in high school. I'm a mom. I've got 3 adult sons, got a great husband, and I had a corporate life before I started Strides in Recovery, and now I'm retired, and I guess I'm not really retired because I work full time. I just don't get paid anymore, but Strides in Recovery has become my passion, and it feels good to be able to have the time to give back and use my running to help others.
Very nice. So let's talk a little bit about Strides in Recovery. For those that don't know who Strides in Recovery is, I kind of gave a short description of it, but I'm sure you could do much better than I can. What is Strides in Recovery and who do they help?
Sure. So we are a nonprofit and we serve addiction treatment programs throughout Los Angeles County. We're in 18 programs right now, and in a typical year, we'll have almost 1,000 people go through our program. And what we do is we go to the treatment programs and we lead running and walking groups. We deliberately called the organization Strides in Recovery and not something like Running for Recovery, because we want to make it very clear that everybody is welcome regardless of their level of fitness. So, we take people, anybody who wants to get up and get out and give it a try, they are absolutely welcome.
And so over the years, how many people do you think you've helped over the years?
I was going to say it's probably close to a couple thousand right now. I know it's more than 2,000. I couldn't tell you the exact number yet, but we've grown quite a bit in the last year or so. So it's been really nice to see that we can handle that many different groups every week and see that many people.
And I'm sure a few of those members have actually become coaches of yours.
Yeah, quite a few actually. What we tell them is when they finish the program, most of the programs that we are in, the clients are there for 3 to 4 months. And we always encourage them to keep coming back and running with the teams when they move on to sober living or move on to whatever else they want to be doing in their lives. We always tell them you are welcome to come back and be a volunteer and be an assistant coach to support the team. And if that is something that they choose to do and they demonstrate that level of commitment, then when a coach position opens up and they've got about a year of sobriety, they're the first person that we've asked. And, one of the things I'm proud of is that several of the coaches that we've hired have had criminal records that, were from their lives back when they were using, where they got turned down for a lot of other jobs because people were judging them based on who they were in the past. And, we look at them as, who are you now? So, you know what? We don't care if you have a criminal background. You prove that you're committed and you're willing to work hard and you can use your story to inspire others, then we want you as a coach.
I love that. I've met a few of them myself, and I wouldn't even known that they had addictions. Like, I don't think one of your coaches is Bryant Palermo.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this guy is just built like a rock. Humongous guy, as fast as can be. And I never would have known talking to him that he was ever had any kind of addictions. He seems so down to earth, and so those are the kind of people that come out of your organization. Just one of them.
Yeah, no, we have, Bryant came to us as a volunteer, and he's been with us. Gosh, one of our first volunteers, I actually met him. He was at the Recovery Dharma table because that was how he got sober at another addiction recovery event, and we connected. And I was like, "Hey, you want to come and volunteer with us?" And he has been such an inspiring coach. He's got 5 years clean now,
Wow.
so maybe 6. I think 6 years. I think. So yeah, a lot of our coaches are either in recovery themselves or it's personal for them because a loved one struggled with addiction and this is their way to pay it forward. So people who help make our program happen are passionate. I mean, it's something they're doing from the heart, and you really can tell. I
Yeah.
love it when I go and I visit different teams and I'll see coach go up and hug a bunch of people, and that connection is huge.
Yeah, the social media, if anybody's watching, head over to Stride to Recovery on Instagram or Facebook. Oh my God, you'll see the pictures of the people that are changing. It's awesome. So I've always been wondering this, Leslie, and you could not answer if you don't want to, but has any celebrities ever come through your program? Because you're in LA, and you know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Mhm.
Most of the celebrities are going to programs that accept private insurance, and a lot of the programs that we're working with are the people that are coming through on the drug Medi-Cal program.
Okay.
So yeah, that's generally not
Oh,
who we're
okay.
seeing. There are some people who have come through that are well known in their particular areas,
Mm.
but it's not appropriate for me to talk about
Yeah,
anything beyond that might give away who they are.
yeah. But you guys have a huge. I mean, you're at a Students in LA event last year, and you guys were just massive. You must have had 30 or 40 people there easily.
It was fun, and our teams loved it. Like so many of them said that addiction is such a selfish way of being, and they felt so good that, hey, I can actually do something to help somebody else. They all said they felt like running with the kids and inspiring them to get over the finish line helped them more than they helped the kids they were running with.
Wow, that's
Really
great. Yeah, it's
nice.
cool to
One
see
of
how
them
you
said,
guys.
like, I didn't even know I could be that compassionate.
Wow. Yeah, that was cool to see. But before we head on to your personal journey, let's talk about you guys have an event coming up soon.
We do. The Palos Verdes Trails 5K is on Sunday morning, September 24th. And as the name would suggest, it's on the trails in Palos Verdes, and it's a 5K that's open to the entire community. It's not just a recovery event. So
Mm.
we're going to have a lot of people from the South Bay, from San Pedro, from Palos Verdes. And we're also inviting our teams, and we hosted it last year, and one of the comments we overheard from somebody was like, "Oh, I had no idea that people in recovery look so normal." And,
Good.
we want to show that people in recovery, yes, they do look normal and they are members of society just like you. So,
That is so funny. Wow.
yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I look forward to that. So head on over to striderecovery.com and you can find, or .org, striderecovery.org, and you can find all the information about that race over there. I will leave a link in the description about that race when this is afterwards. But okay, let's talk about your running journey, Leslie. So
sure.
what was the inspiration behind your running journey?
Um, Started when I was in high school. I looked around at a lot of the adults in my life, and nobody had a lot of energy. It was kind of, oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to do this. I don't feel good. Um, Kind of overweight, out of shape, and I just thought, I don't want to grow up to be like that. And my Uncle Bill, he ran every day. He was Mr. Energy. He did all kinds of fun things. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to start running with Uncle Bill. And he would come by every morning, 6 a.m. before school, and take me down to there was a big oval in the center of town where all the runners were. And we'd run together. And that's what got me started. And what I'm proud to say is that a lot of those people who I said, gee, I don't want to grow up to be like that,
Mhm.
they're either sick, dead, frail. Uncle Bill is 88 years old. He still plays baseball, which is his passion. So I think if he can keep going, so can I.
Wow. Yeah, I bet he must be so proud of you on what you've done so far.
Well, thanks.
I would think. Yeah, actually I got him on the show. Let's bring him on in. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but we all need an Uncle Bill in our life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was when you're young. So you just kept it going as you're getting older, or how that happened?
I was basically running a couple miles, a couple days a week. I initially just saw it as a way to stay healthy. And then over time, I realized it was a way to just reduce stress. Um, After each pregnancy, I had some weight to lose, so I would add a day. And that's what got me up to running 5 days a week. And it was just something for me. And like when I had little kids, that was my
Mm,
quiet time, get out of the house and just have a little quiet time to clear my head and think through the day. And I'd say when my kids were maybe early teens, I was talking to my neighbor, and he every year would do the Palos Verdes half marathon, which unfortunately that event doesn't exist anymore. But he would do it every year, and every year he would have this big party at his house. And I would always be thinking, oh, I should do the PV half one year. And, I would think that every year. And then, of course, I would never actually do it because thinking about it is very easy. Doing it is another story.
yeah.
And one day I came home from my morning run, and my neighbor was outside. His name is Bill, too. So I guess there must be a thing about Bill and running for me.
Yeah.
But we were just chatting, and I said, Bill, I'm thinking about doing the PV half this year. And he says, yeah, I think I might do it again this year. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll do it. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking in my head, Leslie, you are so full of it, because anybody could sit around and think about doing a half marathon. And then I thought, no one's even committing to anything. It's just, oh, yeah, maybe I might. Well, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, whatever. And then I looked at my watch. I'm like, hey, I got to go get my kids to school. I'll see you. And for whatever stupid reason, I said, I'll tell you what, Bill, if you do it, I'll do it. And then I walked away, and I never gave that conversation another thought until about, maybe 3 or 4 weeks later. I got home from my morning run, and there was the application taped to my front door with a note. I signed up. Now you have to. We're carpooling. It's like, oh no. All right. So at that point, I think I had never run more than 8 miles in my life, and I had maybe 3 weeks to train. So I thought, well, let's go for it.
You ran for years before doing any kind of race.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just
Wow.
running for fun. The idea of doing a race never crossed my mind. I don't think I'd ever done a 5K or a 10K even. So I did the half marathon, and it was fun. So I did a couple more. So then, of course, my friends were like, oh, you should do a full marathon.
Of course.
Yeah. And I had all the excuses like, I don't have the time to train. I don't think my knees could take it. Um, and then it was kind of like, I've been an athlete all my life. Like, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Like, I do a lot of long distance cycling, and I'm like, oh, who cares?
Mm.
But then there was this little voice in my head that was like, you're just making up a bunch of excuses because deep down you're afraid that you can't do it. So, if you want to inspire me to do something, just tell me you don't think I can.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, I'm going to start running a little further. And I remember actually going out to run with a friend of mine who was training for the LA Marathon. So she was doing 8 miles out, 8 miles back. And at 6.5 miles, I'm like, all right, I'm turning around, I'm going back. And she's like, well, why? You could go further. I don't know. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. And if I go further and then I find out that I can't, it's going to be a very long walk the rest of the way back to my car. Forget it. I'm out of here. And I got back to my car and I thought, well, I could probably just run 1 more mile. So I went out, half a mile out, half a mile back. So 14 miles. All right, I could do that. And then every week I increased it a little bit. And at this point, I didn't know anything about what I was doing, like about proper hydration or carbohydrates or eating protein. Nothing. I was just going out and running. And I remember one day I was doing an 18 miler and I was along the bike path, kind of near Redondo Pier. And I remember looking at my watch and seeing 15 miles and thinking, oh, hey, you know what? That's good. You are doing really well. And about 5 minutes later, my body was just like, okay, we're done. I really don't care that it's another 3 miles back to your car. We are out of gas. I'm finished. And I remember thinking, oh, I've heard that expression hitting the wall. And now I know what that means.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was a struggle to do 15-minute miles. It took me something like 45 minutes to do the last 3 miles back to my car. And I remember thinking, I never want to make that mistake again. So I, learned that I need to eat more and drink more and all that. And then at some point I thought, I got up to about maybe a 20-mile run. And I thought, well, okay. So now I've proven to myself that I could run a marathon, but why in the world would I want to? And that's when I thought, all right, I'm going to go find some good cause and something will inspire me and I'm going to run for that cause. And at the time I was 51 and, unfortunately a lot of people get cancer in their 50s. And I thought, well, probably somebody I know, maybe a friend or family member, whatever, is going to get cancer, and whatever cancer they have, I'm going to find a run for that particular type of cancer, and I'm going to go do that. And fortunately, that didn't happen. Like, nobody in my life at that point got cancer. A few weeks later, I was flipping through the paper, and I saw this ad, and it said, "Run to Save a Soul, the only Jewish-themed charity team for the Los Angeles Marathon." So I thought, oh, okay, I'm Jewish. I'll go run for a Jewish charity. And I had absolutely no idea what this Jewish charity was, but whatever.
Yeah.
I had a full-time job. I had 3 kids. I didn't have time to think. I was just like, that's it. I'll figure it out when I get there.
Okay.
And I walked in for the first team meeting, and I remember everyone was seated in a circle. And I looked around the room and I'm looking at the walls and I'm trying to think, what kind of a place is this? There was nothing on the wall that gave it away. And I looked at the people and, it didn't look like they all had some particular disease or something. And then everybody started to talk. The team manager said, what does it mean to you why do you want to be here? Why are you running the marathon? And as people started to share their stories, I realized oh, I'm in an addiction treatment program.
Oh, wow.
And the whole time I'm listening to their stories, but the other half of my brain is like, and this is 2012, like, I don't know anything about addiction. I don't think I even know anybody who's battling addiction. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to say when they get to me. So they continue around the circle and they get to me and, well, why do you want to run the marathon? And I said, well, I just wanted to run for a good cause. And the whole room went silent. And I'm thinking, oh, everybody else in here is like, this chick totally does not get it. Like, she can't relate to us. Like, why is she even here? And all this negative stuff's going through my head. I've already decided that they all hate me or something. And the whole room just burst into a round of applause. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Okay, they accept me here. I'm going to join this team. And I joined the team and I did my first marathon with the Beit Shuva Running for Recovery team.
Oh, wow. How many people were part of the team?
There were about 50 that year.
50. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, some were clients in the treatment program, some were alumni of the program, and most of the rest were either employees or members of the congregation or board members. So,
Wow,
yeah,
51 years old.
Yeah, so yeah, my first marathon at 51.
So I would not have believed. I know 2012 is the year that I stopped drinking and smoking. So when I'm doing that, you're in some addiction recovery program, starting to do your first marathon.
Yep.
Wow, it seems like just yesterday. It doesn't seem like very long ago, huh? 11 years.
Yeah, so I've been the next year. It was funny at the end of the season. They said, we've never had somebody just answer an ad and show up on the team. Everybody on the team has been here because they had some connection. Would you like to just talk to us a little bit about your experience and, what do you think we can do better? What went well? We really want to learn how we can improve. So I said, yeah, sure. Again, without thinking it through. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, they did a great job with the team. The planning was good. The coaching was good. I mean, what am I going to say? Oh, I don't know. One day I didn't like your flavor of granola or something that you picked out as a snack. I'm thinking, well, what am I going to say? And then as I was driving there to talk to them, I realized, and I got in there and I said, this is a co-ed program, but most of the people on the team are men. Where are all the women? And they kind of hung their heads. And she said, yeah, that's been a problem. We think it's because we don't have any women coaches. You want to coach? I was like, sure.
Wow.
That's how I started coaching that team. I've been coaching ever since. So I think this will be my 12th year with the team. And I've probably helped several hundred people now in their first year of recovery get over the finish line of the LA Marathon.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know about that whole. I mean, I knew that you started with them, but I didn't know the details. I didn't know. I mean, it's so funny that you're running for so long, and it didn't even occur to you to go do a race. And that's what's like, you just do it. That's what I don't understand, because when I first started running, that was like my first thing. I'm gonna go do a race. I didn't do anything. I didn't do it for fun.
No, I did actually. Now that you think about it, I did do a half marathon maybe 10 years before that, maybe even more. Some friends of mine were going to walk the Carlsbad half marathon. So I said, oh yeah, sure, I'll come and walk. And I had two kids at the time who my husband pushed in a jogging stroller, and I was pregnant with my third, but I didn't know it. And I thought, oh, how hard could it be to walk a half marathon? Except that I had no idea my friends could walk that fast. And I couldn't keep up with them, and it was just easier to jog. So we did.
Wow.
But, it was with my husband pushing two kids, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old in a jogging stroller. So we had to make a lot of stops. So I think that half marathon was something like 2 hours and 45 minutes. But
Yeah.
the kids had fun. And when we crossed the finish line, they actually put the medals over the necks of my 2-year-old and 4-year-old. And I should have told him there's one more inside. You need to give him a medal too, but
Yeah. So you running with Beit Shava kind of led you to saying, "Hey, you know what? Let me start a program, strategy recovery." That kind of led into that somehow, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people would say things to me on the team like, I realized I'm stronger than I thought. Um, this taught me I can do whatever I put my mind to. I learned I don't have to go through life alone. Um, it was just that whole sense of seeing themselves with a much brighter future, feeling connected and feeling more empowered to do what was important to them and believing that they could accomplish it is what made me start thinking like, they should do this in more treatment programs. So when I was in a position to retire, I said, all right, that's it. I'm going to go start a nonprofit and do this at other treatment programs. Not that they don't all run marathons.
Mm.
Most because the length of stay at Beit Tshuva at that point was typically a year. Most of the programs we work with, clients are there for 3 to 4 months. So our goal distance is either a 5K or a 10K.
Okay.
And if clients want to continue on, then we do write training programs so that they can continue on their own to do a half marathon and a full marathon. And we have had people go on and do half marathons and full marathons, and it's really exciting to see that. And then they come back and inspire more people in the programs to try it.
Yeah, it gets addicting, this running thing. But when you retired from your job and you said, "Okay, I'm gonna start this nonprofit," what did your family think? They're like, "Okay, mom's finally retired," and you're like, "Oh wait, never mind." What did or were they pretty supportive of it,
Oh
or
yeah,
just like,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
no, they, you know, yeah, no, they were very supportive.
it keeps you busy, and it does keep you very busy. I mean,
Yeah, but
you probably got more on your
too
plate
busy.
now than you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
you think you're working harder now than you did when you were working?
Mm, probably more hours, but you know what? It's yours. You don't have to play corporate politics, so it's fun.
Yeah, more fun. Very cool. Very cool. For
It
anybody
doesn't feel
watching,
like work.
yeah. So you probably don't. You could probably do this the rest of your life and won't feel like it's working. Um, so yeah. So go support Strategy Recovery. The link will be in the description below. So let's get to the Boston Marathon, Leslie. So what? So you finished a few LA marathons. How many LA marathons do you think you've done so far in your life?
I've done, I think, 5 full and 6 half. I realized at some point along the way when I was running with the Beit Tshuva team that if I did the full marathon, then the half marathoners would finish before I did, and I wouldn't get to see them cross the finish line. Whereas if I ran the half, then I could get out in front of them, and then I could see everybody cross the finish line. And that was when I switched over from doing the full to the half. So I think I've done the LA full 5 times, and all the other times I did the half after that.
Have you done the new course?
Um, I've done it a zillion times in training, and I've done the half on
Oh,
the new course. You know, when I run with the team, I do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my wife left a message. She says, Leslie is awesome. You both sound, she was my soundboard. She said, I said, hey, I need you to let me know how my sound is. So we sound great, Leslie.
Well, hey, Jen.
Yeah. We're big fans of you, Leslie.
Oh,
All
thanks.
right. Let's
Yeah.
get
So
into the Boston.
sure.
All right. So you did all these marathons. You're 50 something years old. You're with Beit Sheva. So now you got all these marathons underneath you. Like, let me do Boston. So what was the motivation behind that?
Um, the first time I ran a marathon, my only goal was just finish. Like, I don't think I even really knew much about what Boston was or what it took to qualify. Maybe I'd heard of it. I don't even know, but I didn't even care. It was just make it over the finish line.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I thought, well, I'll see if I could do a little bit of speed training. Uh, and I think that year, my time was something like 17 minutes slower than what I needed to qualify. So the
Oh,
idea
wow.
of qualifying for Boston was just completely ridiculous. It wasn't something I took very seriously, but it was fun
Really?
to see that I could get a little faster each year. And then, I'd shave off a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. And then when I was 54, I ran it in about 4:13, I think. And then I was like, wait a minute. next year I'm 55, and instead of my qualifying time being 4 hours, it becomes 4 hours and 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Now I only have to shave off 3 minutes. That I could do. Um,
Well, let me stop for a second.
sure.
You thought 17 minutes was hard to shave off? Like, if someone told me, "Oh, you got 17," I would be like, "What? 17 minutes?" I would have no problem. But 17 minutes was a big number to you.
I mean, that's like, I mean, I'm not doing the exact math, but that's roughly
Yeah.
45 seconds a mile. That is a lot. That, that's hard.
Well, I got to cut off like an hour and a half off my time. So, okay. So you got to a uh, new age level, and now you can see it in your sights.
Yeah. So the first time I tried, I ran the Long Beach Marathon. I think that was 2017. And it was just a really warm day. I remember it was in the 70s before the sun came up in the start zone. And at that point, I hadn't really perfected my hydration and electrolytes mix. And I just ran out of electrolytes. I mean, probably about mile 17 or 18, my husband was on the course and gave me a bottle of Gatorade, which I drank, and it was great and it helped, but it wasn't enough just considering how hot it was. So I crossed the finish line, I don't know, probably a couple minutes. I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 minutes slower than what I needed to qualify.
Mm.
And I remember walking around for a while in the finish zone before I sat down. And this is the only time this has ever happened to me. My leg cramped up so badly that I actually had to ask for help to get up off the ground. And I thought, never again will I not drink enough electrolytes. So that
Wow.
was how I messed up for. I didn't qualify my first time at Long Beach, or the first time I tried.
Well, how did you know
So
it was electrolytes? I mean, something that's kind of new to the, how would I know if it's electrolytes that you're lacking?
um, well, I mean, it depends on how much you sweat. I mean, some people sweat more than others. Um, but when you're running, you need to be, if you're going that distance, you need to have water, and you need to have, like some potassium and sodium, and you can take it as gels. Some people like tablets, some people like the chews. Some people would rather put Gatorade in their bottle, and they all work. I mean, it's just a matter of what works. What's your preference? What do you like? Uh, and to me, the measure of did I have enough electrolytes is how I feel after I finish the run. Because what I would notice is that early on, and this was more with the long distance cycling, because it's the same thing, you're sweating a lot, is that I get home and I would eat and drink and eat and drink and more water and more food. And it just seemed like my body's wanting something else. And I remember the first time I tried Gatorade, it's like, oh, that's it. That is what my body needed. So I feel like for me, if you are getting the proper amount of electrolytes when you finish, you're going to feel okay. You're not going to feel like, I mean, you're going to be hungry and thirsty or whatever, but
Yeah,
you'll you'll recharge. I mean, if you're out there and you're having cramps, um, you are
that's it.
way under. You
Okay.
should have had a lot more electrolytes. And I think you can just judge if you're the kind of person who sweats a lot, you should probably be, taking more salt tablets and having an electrolyte drink. And really it's just a matter of run a lot of long distances so you learn. When I'm training with the Bechuva team, we do a lot of our runs in the 15 to 20 mile distance, because if you haven't fueled properly, that's when you're going to start to feel it. And everybody's different. I can tell you what I do. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to just do enough distance running and try enough different types of electrolyte and hydration mixes to see what works best for you.
Okay. So your motivation behind wanting to do Boston was just because you realized that you came kind of close to it. That was the
Um,
motivation behind it.
yeah, it's just like I'm going to do this.
And
Yeah,
I don't know if you're like me, you became obsessed. I've been obsessed with it, Leslie, for the past years. But now that I'm like, okay, I'm taking it serious. I'm doing it. And my wife even says I got to stop eating ice cream. Well, she didn't say I have to stop, but I need to hone down on my snack foods that I have. Food is a big thing with me. But um, anyways, back to you. Like, so how many attempts did I? So that was your first attempt,
that was my
number one.
first. I qualified on my fourth attempt, and unfortunately, for those of you who don't know, with Boston, the qualifying time, if you meet your qualifying time, it doesn't mean that you got in.
No.
The qualifying time means that you are allowed to submit an application. And then what they do is they basically throw out your time, and instead they measure you by how much you beat your qualifying time by. So, as an example, and let's say I beat my qualifying time by a minute, and some 30-year-old guy who ran way faster than I did only beat his qualifying time by 30 seconds. I'm actually ahead of him in line because I
Okay.
beat it by 1 minute rather than 30 seconds. So what they do is they basically line everybody up by how big your margin was and take the first 24,000. So you never know from year to year what that margin is going to be to qualify. So on my
Okay.
fourth attempt, I beat my qualifying time by 1 minute and 27 seconds. And that year, the cutoff was a minute 39.
Wow.
So I missed getting in by 12 seconds.
Ah. How was that heartbreaking to you?
I was pretty disappointed because, I really I'd learned a lot of lessons from the first three times where I did things that it was like, well, that was a mistake and I'm not going to do that again. And I felt like I did everything right. And that was actually the fastest marathon I've ever done in my life. But
Oh,
I was like, you know,
which race was it?
Orange County.
Okay. So what were the other two mistakes you made? The first one was hydration, electrolytes.
Yeah.
The second and
So
third, what was that?
so the second one was Mountains to Beach, and I got injured in my training. And for training, it's really important, like minor little muscle imbalances, if you're running 5 or 10 miles, are no big deal. But if you are running, 40, 50, 60 miles a week and doing really long runs, minor imbalances become painful and
Mhm.
they can take you out. And the way to avoid those is stretching and strengthening and foam rolling. And I was very good about my stretching and strengthening, but not doing enough foam rolling. And I remember about 6 weeks before the race, I was doing a 20 miler. And at about mile 17, the pain in my hip was just so bad that it was like, all right, I'm done. Walk back
Wow.
to the car. And then, it took about a month for that to heal. And, I was much more diligent about the stretching and the strengthening and the foam rolling. And so I did run the race, but since I had missed almost a month of training, I did okay, but again, I missed my qualifying time by a couple minutes. It's like, all right, well, at least I know why that happened.
Yeah.
My third time, my third time is a great example of what negative self-talk is going to do to you. So that was CIM, the California International Marathon that's up in Sacramento. And it was a pretty cold morning. I want to say it was maybe high 30s, low 40s. And I made the mistake of wearing tights rather than, I think I had tights under my running shorts. And I don't know, maybe halfway through, three-quarters of the way, it was warm. And I just remember thinking, oh, I can't believe I wore the tights. How stupid was that? I shouldn't have worn it. And, but it's easy to throw off a sweatshirt. You can't exactly take off a pair of tights while you're
Yeah.
running. And so then just this negative self-talk loop started with, oh, now I'm probably poorly hydrated because I'm sweating too much and I'm overheating and I better drink more. And my attitude just started getting pretty bad. And I noticed myself starting to slow down, and I would keep looking at my watch and trying to do the math and how
Mm.
fast do I need to go? And I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then I started with, oh, I could do better if there was good music on the course. I wish there was music. Oh, I wish I was running with a friend. Oh, and then I'm trying to imagine myself running with my friend. And I have this one friend who's probably mentally the toughest person I know. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
okay, what would Anne be telling me right now? So
Hmm.
that wasn't working either. I'm trying to imagine this. And then it was like, oh, maybe if there was better crowd support, I could do it. And oh, look how bad my time is. And then I remember it. Mile 20, they had this big sign above the mile 20 marker that said the wall. And I just remember like a
Yeah,
whole string of expletives in my head, like,
yeah.
I feel bad enough. Like, you need to rub it in my face. Thanks a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting slower and slower. And I get to within 400 yards of the finish line. And that finish line is around a corner. So you don't see it until you're maybe 50 yards in front of it. And I
Mm.
see the sign that says a quarter mile to go. And at that point, I was running like maybe a 10-15 pace, which was like,
Wow.
there's no possible way you're going to
Yeah.
qualify with a 10-15 pace. That was terrible. And I saw that sign and I picked it up and I was running at 8:30. And I ran at an 8:30 pace all the way across the finish line. And I missed qualifying by 9 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
And I just remember thinking, I had it in me the entire time.
Yeah.
And all that negative, whatever, is what made me miss it.
And
So, and the other thing was I had trained really hard. And that year was when um, they had cut the qualifying times for everybody at Boston by 5 minutes. So I had trained really hard and I had actually cut my time by 5 minutes. So, instead of missing it by, whatever it was the last time,
yeah.
I was 5 minutes faster, which is huge. And I missed it by 9 seconds, totally because of my negative mindset.
Yeah.
So I thought,
Wow.
all right, next time when I try to qualify, I'm going to run with a friend, and my friend is going to keep me motivated.
Mm.
So I did, and because
You
my
had a
friend
pacer.
who I ran with, she paces marathons, and so for her to run my speed, like I'm trying my absolute hardest, is like a piece of cake for her. So she's running alongside of me, and just we're chit chatting the whole way, and I was totally on pace. Everything was fine, and this is at Orange County now. And then I remembered about, I don't know, maybe mile 18, something like that. She's like, oh, what's your favorite kind of food? And I remember starting to think about it and then thinking, like, I don't have any extra energy to waste on using my brain. Like, I could barely, all I can think about is keep going, keep going, keep going. And I
Yeah.
remember gasping and thinking and just saying to her, I can't talk. You talk, you talk. And she did. We're trotting along, and she's like, a lettuce and a tomato were in a race. Who won? She's like, the lettuce did because it was ahead, and the tomato had to
My
catch
gosh.
up. Get it? So she just kept me entertained the entire way,
Uh-huh.
and that was my fastest marathon ever. That was the one where I qualified with a decent margin, but obviously not enough. Um, but the good thing, going back to CIM, when I crossed the finish line, I remember that so well, 4:05 and 9 seconds.
Uh-huh.
About a minute later, I got a text from a friend of mine. She's like, oh, too bad you didn't qualify, but you should see if you qualified for New York. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. And turns out when Boston cut their times, New York didn't. So I only needed a 4:10 to get into New York. So I qualified for New York with a pretty wide margin, and I got in.
Wow.
So I ran, let me think. So the Orange County Marathon was 2019. and I was scheduled to run the New York Marathon in 2019, but I had to postpone it because of another commitment. So I deferred it to 2020, and COVID deferred it to 2021.
Okay.
So I went into New York with absolutely zero intention of trying to qualify, because I thought,
Mm.
well, like, this is New York. My
Yeah.
friends are going to be standing along the course at mile 6. My cousin lives in the city. She's going to be there at mile 17. I mean, it's the New York Marathon. I'm just going to go out and have fun. So, I ran, and it was the absolute most perfect day. This was 2021.
Mm.
And I want to say the temperatures were high 40s, low 50s. Uh, the crowd support was just unbelievable. And a friend of mine, actually the same friend who had told me, see if you can qualify for New York, said, put your name on your shirt.
Oh.
And at first I didn't want to, because I thought, like, okay, how pathetic is this? Like, I really need attention that badly. I'm going to go stick my name on my shirt. But then I thought, well, you know what? She's done New York. I trust her judgment. If Betsy said I should do it, I'm going to do it. So I had big letters, Leslie, across my shirt. And it was so much fun, because as I was running, people would be like, go, Leslie, you got this. And some would even step into the street and be like, I see you, Leslie, go.
Wow.
And then I realized, like, oh, this isn't just all about me. This is like, people came out to cheer on the runners. They want to
Yeah.
connect with real runners. So I'm giving them an experience too. And
Wow.
it was awesome. So I just felt great as I was running along. And I wasn't going as fast as I had a few years ago. But the beauty of this was I had just turned 60. So now I had 15 more minutes, because when Boston cut the 5 minutes, it was under 60. So
Mm.
from going to 59 to 60, you have 15 extra minutes. So, that's like, 40 seconds a mile or something. So I could take my time, and I still had plenty of time. And I remember that I got to mile 21, and I looked at my watch, and I was like, oh, I have 56 minutes to do 5.2 miles. Like, that's not a
Wow.
problem at all. I could totally do that. And of course, the minute I said that, I started up that long hill that goes along Central Park, and it was like, oh no, I wonder what's on the other side of this. Is it flat, or does it go back downhill? So it did go back downhill, and I dropped down to about a 9:15 pace, which was way more than I needed to, or way better than I needed to qualify. And I came into Central Park, and the crowds are just yelling and screaming. It's packed on either side of the trail. And I remember thinking, is this what it feels like to run out onto the field on the Super Bowl or something? And I finished with a 2:21 margin, and that was enough to qualify for Boston. And I got to Boston.
Who would have known that you would have done that in New York?
So,
So I've heard many people say that New York is like the most entertaining race out there, better than Boston. Would you agree?
yeah.
Yeah. So what year did you end up actually doing Boston? 2021, 22?
22.
Okay. And how was it as magical as you thought it would be?
It was really cool to be like, I got here. And what I didn't know at the time was that was actually the 50th anniversary of the first woman running the Boston Marathon. So all along the courses, there were banners up congratulating the first runners and celebrating the 50th anniversary. So that was fun. And yeah, that was a good run, because it's Boston. I mean, that's the goal. And we had good weather. The next morning, it was like 40 degrees and pouring rain, so it was absolutely perfect to run it on
Oh,
the day that I ran it.
would you ever want to do it again?
No, that's a bucket list item. One and
That's
done. On to something
it.
else.
Wow. Okay, so what advice would you give to someone like me that's going for it? What kind of advice would you give? You talk about strength, you talk about stretching and foam rolling. Those
um,
are essential.
yeah, and making sure proper nutrition, proper hydration, proper electrolyte balance. The other thing is to follow a good training program. This is the program I use, the Daniels running
Mm.
formula. And it literally tells you, I don't know if you can see it. I bookmark the pages. Let's see if it'll work. But it will tell you literally how far to run. It's 2 quality runs a week. Like, let's say, as an example, if I'm in the range of running 41 to 55 miles a week. It'll be
Okay.
like, okay, on, week 1 of your training, when you're 18 weeks out, you should do, X number of miles, and some of your miles at easy pace, at marathon pace, at threshold pace, interval pace, running, and then the most intense pace. I literally followed that to the T, and that worked. It really did. And because there's just a ton of science behind it. Like, you can't just go out and be like, well, I'm just going to run and get a little faster every week. It doesn't work that way. You need to do about 80% of your mileage actually needs to be done at a much easier pace than you would be doing the marathon at. And then the other 20% is speed work, which is mostly threshold pace, which, depending on your goal marathon pace, is, maybe about roughly 45 seconds per mile faster than what your goal marathon pace is, maybe more. I mean, again, it depends on what your marathon pace is, but
And it explains all that in the book.
it does. And it will actually, like, if I go to, let's see, week 8, 18 weeks out, the very first run is 4 miles at easy pace, 8 miles at marathon pace, 1 mile at threshold pace, 1 mile at easy pace, 14 miles.
Is this a training plan specifically to get into Boston? Or is it just an overall just training plan?
Yeah, it's an overall.
Okay.
I mean, it's, you decide what your goal time is, and it will have charts. So if let's say you need to run, I don't know, I'm just pulling numbers out of my head here, but if you need to run an 8:30 pace in order to qualify, then this is what that 8:30 is your marathon pace. So your easy pace is going to be slower than 8:30, probably something like around a 10-minute pace. Your threshold pace might be something like 7:45, and then your interval pace might be, like 7:15. So you're varying your paces, and each different pace is designed to do something else. So the easy pace runs, which again, I said is about 80% of your training, that's important to get your body used to going the distance and not being injured. The marathon pace is just to teach your body, this is what it feels like to run at the pace I need to run. The threshold pace runs, which are faster, that enables your body to basically clear the lactic acid out of your muscles so that your muscles are not going to fatigue. And typically what it'll be is maybe run 2 miles, take a little break, 2 more miles at threshold pace, take a break. And in this training plan, I'm not getting paid to, promote his plan or whatever.
Yeah.
It's been, really helpful for me. But the idea behind the threshold pace running is to teach your body how to clear the lactic acid so your muscles don't fatigue. And then the faster paces are more on increasing your VO2 max, which is basically your oxygen capacity. And then the fastest one, which you don't do a lot of in marathon training, you do more of it if you're trying to run, 800s or shorter distance races,
Yeah.
is for leg strength. And
okay.
He's got a lot of science behind how to balance it all. But every single time I used his plan, I got faster.
What's the Jack Daniels? What's the name of the book?
It's Daniel's running formula.
Okay, I'll put a link to that in the description if anybody wants to pick that up. And I'm might give that myself. Wow. Okay, cool. All right. So we talked about you checked that bucket list item off. What's your next big running goal?
In a week and a half, I'm going to be running my first international marathon in Reykjavik, Iceland.
Wow. Let's talk about that a bit. Is it going to be cold, or what's the weather like over there?
It is actually going to be perfect running weather. It's the morning lows are in the 40s and it gets up to maybe high 50s at the most during the day. So I just want to keep my fingers crossed that it doesn't rain. But that's 40s and 50s is absolutely ideal for running.
What made you decide to do that one?
Um, I don't know, just everybody I know that's ever been to Iceland says it's amazing. So I thought, why not go?
You have a specific goal in mind for that?
um, no, just sightseeing. I'm not planning to run that one fast at all. I'm planning to use that as sightseeing. Because my understanding is some of it goes out along the water, and you have beautiful mountains. And I want to be looking at the mountains, not looking at my watch.
Yeah. Oh, what kind of is it like an? I know it's Iceland. What kind of land is it? Is it you're not running on ice? I don't think. What is Iceland?
It's
What is?
yeah, it's known for all its the volcanic activity. So it's a giant series of volcanoes are what formed the island. And
Okay. I
so,
look forward to the pictures.
oh, thanks.
Very
I promise to
cool.
post one when I get the medal.
Do you have a specific story in mind that goes with this race? Uh,
um,
I
yeah,
think you told me
actually,
something.
so
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's a couple days before my birthday, and I will be officially old enough to be eligible for Social Security. So it's just kind of like, hey, old people could still do this. But I can't, like, in marathon runner eyes, I can't even consider myself old because um, you know, people run marathons in their 70s and their 80s. And a 92-year-old woman just set the record for the oldest woman to finish a marathon. She did the Honolulu Marathon. Took her something like, I don't know, between 10 and 11 hours. And you know what? That means I got a lot more years in me.
Yeah, you do. Wow. You never know what the future has in store for you. Very cool. Well, this was amazing, Leslie. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me and teach me and the viewers a little bit how to qualify for Boston. Definitely going to look up that book. But before I let you go, I got one last question for you.
Sure.
And usually I'm going to take a little drink. Do you have a drink with you?
Nope.
Okay. Usually we do a cheers. We're going to do a fake cheers. Cheers to a good interview.
All right, there we go.
For sharing your story. But Leslie Gold, how has running helped you live your best life?
Well, right now, running is my life. I'm very proud of what I'm doing with Strides in Recovery, and it feels really good to be able to use my running to help other people get out of, move beyond addiction and be the kind of person that they want to be. And it's nice to know that I'm able to do that.
A beautiful answer. You're going to leave a legacy way far beyond yourself, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Good. So our friend Heather is in the chat. She says she's definitely going to look that up. She's from God, where is she from? She's from like the Midwest. Look at that. Cheers. You give it to cheers also.
Yeah,
But thank you, Heather.
Say is if anybody has questions, they could just about training, they could just go ahead and get on the Instagram account and send a direct message, and I'll see it, and I'm happy to respond.
Yeah, head over to Strides in Recovery on Instagram, and you'll be when you message to Strides, you're talking to Leslie. You're not talking to to some random manager that a lot of companies have. It's Leslie, right?
Yep.
All right. So with that said, thank you, Leslie, for being here. I'm gonna let you go for now, but anybody watching, please be sure to like, subscribe, head over to Strides Recovery, support them, and see what they're all about, and let this legacy that she started continue.